Hey y'all, it's your girl, Dr. Makiba, host of the Healthy Woman Podcast, a talk therapy platform curating healthy conversations so that women like you can serve God while also pursuing an optimal state of holistic health. Hey there, y'all. Welcome to the Healthy Woman Podcast. My name is Dr. Makiba. I am your host, and I'm so excited to have you here. So before we get started, let me give you a little bit of insight into what the Healthy Woman Podcast is, in case you have not been here before. So let me just be clear with you. I am not a medical doctor. I am a doctor of education, which means that I am fully committed to the education of women, and on this platform, from a holistic health perspective. It is my belief that we have a responsibility to be healthy in every way possible so that we can do the thing that God has created us to do without any problem, without any issue. And so I am fully committed to providing a conversational platform so that you can learn about different health issues that you might be able to relate to, and then also get maybe some advice or just hear someone else's journey as they have possibly gone through something that you're familiar with. And so it was placed on my heart by God to be able to provide this platform for women like you, so that you can have a safe space to kind of relate to what is going on with other women and how they're dealing with it, and then possibly be able to come up with your own solutions to get better. Holistically health speaking. I can't talk today, y'all, but I'm going to be better at talking the more that I talk, because y'all know I love to talk. Anyway, so did I say my name was Dr. Makiba? And I'm not host? Okay. All right. So my name is Dr. Makiba. I'm your host. So if you are new here, that means that someone sent you, they shared a podcast episode with you, or you just happen to scroll over and you found our podcast. I want to welcome you personally. I want to say welcome to the platform. You are no longer a guest. You are actually now family. You're part of my family. And I want to make sure that you show up every other week when we drop a new episode. So we drop new episodes on the second and the fourth Tuesday, audio, and then on the second and fourth Wednesday, video on YouTube. So you have a number of different ways where you can listen to our podcast. So once you check this episode out, please do me a favor and share it out with just one girlfriend. I don't even care who you share it. You can actually share it out with more than one girlfriend, but I don't want to put all that pressure on you. One girlfriend, can you make me that promise that you will share this out with one person? Because when you share it out with someone, that allows us to double our impact quicker. And so that's my number one ask of you. Now, if you are an OG listener, that's my original gangster listeners, thank you so much for being loyal. Thank you for showing up all the time. You are always here. I can always look at the numbers and count on your number being in there, because you show up and you want to listen to what we have to say. So I really appreciate you being here. Now, I'm going to say this now, and I'm also going to say this at the end. Please make sure that after listening to this, whether you listen to it on the Apple Podcast platform, the streaming platform, or YouTube, I need for you to give me a 5-star rating on the Apple streaming platform. Let me know if this episode spoke to you. Let me know how you feel about the Healthy Woman Podcast as a whole, in general. Just let me know, because you know algorithms, and you know that the more that you comment and the more that you rate something, the more important it looks to Apple, and they'll push it out more. The same thing goes with YouTube. If you're watching this episode in video on YouTube, please do me a favor and drop a quick comment, just letting me know that you were here, and then let me know what you think about the episode after you share it out with somebody else. So remember, we want to share it out because we want people to be connected, right? I can't do it by myself. So I need your help to get the word out. So, y'all, we have an amazing guest today. I'm so excited to have her here. I'm impressed with this young lady. So first of all, let's just put this out here. She's younger than me. I'm older than everybody. At this point in time, like, I remember there was a time, and in my mind, it didn't seem like it was so far ago, D, but I remember a time when I used to be the youngest person in the room. Like, I remember getting out of the military, and I was working for the government. I was working for the Postal Service, and I was literally one of the youngest male people in the office. And now it just seemed like I blinked my eye
And you're old.
Everywhere I go, I'm a part of the older crew.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. So I don't know. I know you're younger than me, and I don't even know how much younger you are than me, but it's at least 15 years.
No.
15?
No.
I'm 50.
I'm 38.
12.
Wow.
12 years.
Now
12 years, right. Okay, maybe not 15, but 12.
But you're young at heart.
I am. I try to do that because I know that I'm getting older in age. And so I'm trying to stay young at heart. I'm trying to look younger.
And you do.
And
you do
I'm like
you are 50.
I promise, girl, I put effort into this thing. Y'all just don't know. Like, the only thing that reminds me that I'm 50 is when I wake up in the morning and I be like, whoo, child. I feel like I'm 50 today, but I try not to look like I'm 50. So I'm really excited, y'all, to have this young lady here with me. She is a powerhouse in so many different ways. I am actually inspired by her. We don't talk a lot. We don't talk often because we're just in different spaces. And obviously we're in different phases of our life. She's a mother, a young mother, and she's a wife, and she has so many different things that she focuses on. So we're not really in the same spaces, but when we are together, I'm just so impressed and I'm so inspired by her and what she represents and everything that she does. And so Amanda, say your last name for me, because I don't know if the G is pronounced or if it's silent.
Hughley.
So I was, okay. So I thought the G was pronounced, but I wasn't sure if it was like Hughley.
Nope.
Okay.
Hughley,
So
like
Hughley.
DL.
Okay.
DL Hughley.
DL Hughley.
He's somewhere in the line.
Is he?
Somewhere.
Somewhere in the line.
Yeah.
Ow. Okay.
So,
my husband loves DL Hughley. Okay, so
Yeah.
that was good for me because I honestly, when I was on my way, I was like, is it Hughley?
What?
I don't know.
We roll with whatever
Hughley.
people say.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Amanda Hughley. So I'm going to just introduce her a little bit. She has such an amazing bio that I am absolutely going to read every word of it because I just believe in doing so. So Amanda Hughley is a wife, mother, intercessor, and writer. Phenomenal writer, might I add, because I have read some of her stuff. She believes that finding purpose and embracing God's love amidst suffering and pain are the keys to possessing true joy and peace. Through the grace and mercy of God, she founded AH Ministries in 2018 to encourage others, particularly women, who live with chronic illnesses or chronic pain. Amanda's ministry is rooted in 2 Corinthians 12, 9 through 10, New International Version. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Oh my gosh, that is powerful. Like, wow, I need to embrace that at times because that's what we do. Like, I'm going to love this conversation. Okay, I'm not done yet. Amanda has a bachelor's degree in sociology and a master of education degree in community counseling. She has worked with youth in various nonprofit agencies around the city of Chicago. Currently, however, she cherishes raising her sons as a stay-at-home mother. She serves as a minister and intercessor at New Life Covenant Southeast in Chicago, Illinois, under the leadership of our pastor, John F. Hanna. Amanda lives in Brookfield, Illinois, with the loves of her life, her husband, Jonathan, and sons, Elijah and Micah, who are the cutest young men I've ever seen. Amanda has written 2 books, The Gift of Lament, which is absolutely phenomenal. Taught me about lament because I've done a lot of lamenting, but I didn't quite know how that it could be seen through that. So she'll talk about that a little bit too. And her latest book called The Songs of Perseverance. Welcome, girl.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited and honored to be here.
Yes. Not as much as me. Not as much as me. I'm so grateful to have you here. I'm looking forward to the conversation that we have because there's so much about your life that I don't know. And I feel like we have like this kindred spirit. In
Agreed.
A certain way.
Agreed.
A lot of people don't know a lot of the stuff that I have personally gone with from a health perspective. But when I hear you talk about chronic health and chronic illnesses, I know that there is some type of a of a kindred spirit there. And so I'm looking forward to talking about that a little bit more. But before we get started, in true fashion, I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions, and they're going to be easy. Don't worry about it. So number one, are you a planner or do you prefer spontaneity?
Spontaneity scares me to death. I'm a
Really?
planner. Yes,
I can see that.
I am a planner for sure.
Okay, I can see that. Now, why does spontaneity scare you?
So it depends on the spontaneity, right?
Mhm.
A surprise party, cool.
Mhm.
But I just like to know what's coming. I like to be prepared.
Mhm.
I think it's a control thing.
I was just about to say. Like, it was on my tongue, but I was like,
it's a control thing.
Like it's like, could it kind of be like you like to be in control of what's coming?
Yeah. So I have a birthday coming up, and my husband was planning it. And maybe get a few people together. And I was like, like you can always do a surprise party. He's like, no. He was like, I know you. You want to know what's happening. You want to know what kind of food is there. I was like, you're kind of right. If I can plan it out, then it's also like I'll enjoy it.
You'll
if
enjoy
it's
it.
planned out versus the possibility of being disappointed. I know it's something I really need to work on.
So I think that, like, with your husband knows you.
Yeah.
Y'all have been together and married for a while.
Yeah.
So I think the only way that spontaneity works well is if the person really knows what you like and what so the spontaneity and the surprise really isn't a surprise.
Right.
Like, it's a comforting surprise. Like, she doesn't know this is coming, but what she does know is it's gonna be on point.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Especially when it involves food.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
I like
Don't be surprising me with nothing I'm not gonna eat.
Right.
Because and people should know that. If they're gonna do a surprise party for you, they need to know that these are the things that she likes. And these are the things we need to have there.
That's it.
Yeah. I get it.
Man, I sound high maintenance when
It's
we put
all
in the
right.
work.
Girl, it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Number two, are you an early bird or a night owl?
I am neither. I like to go to bed early and sleep in late, but I'm a mother, so none of that happens.
Right.
I can stay up. I'm not an early bird, but I wouldn't call myself a night owl either.
Okay. Okay. She says she likes to go to bed early and sleep late. I heard that. Man, I think that could probably describe me if I have to get up and go to work in the morning. Like, I do go to bed early. Well, earlier. I like to go to bed. I try to go to bed early because at this age I realize the importance of sleep.
Right.
So I do like to go to bed early, but unfortunately, getting up to go to the gym and going to work just messes that whole thing up. But I'm with you. I'm with you. Going to bed early, sleeping in late. But your children say no.
Oh, absolutely.
We're not doing that. Okay.
No.
One day.
Right.
All right. Finally, number 3, beach vacation or city exploration?
Beach vacation. With no excursions.
Right.
Nothing. We're going to eat, we're going to sit on the beach, and we're going to sleep. That's it.
I heard that. I am not, like, I will do maybe an excursion, but I am so content with just, and here's the thing. I'm from Florida, literally live maybe 15 minutes from the beach, grew up 15 minutes from the beach and would never go.
Really?
No. It's amazing how much you take something for granted when you have it. And then when you're not there. So now I'm like, because I laugh so much at Chicagoans when they call what they call the beach, the beach. Because I'm like, that is not a beach, y'all. But I'm not going to burst y'all's bubble because I'm like, I know to you all that's the beach.
Right, don't talk
But
negative.
I'm like, I can really show you what a beach is.
I know. But you take what you can get.
You take what you can get, right? You take what you can get here. I totally understand. All right, so that was it. See, you did good.
That was easy.
You did good. That was super easy. So, Amanda, so I am interested in so many things about you. So where I think I want to start with you is I want to know a little bit about who you are. So can you help us understand who Amanda, a quick intro, if there's a such thing.
Not my whole life story from birth until today. Okay.
Not yet. But a quick intro into who Amanda Hughley is.
All right. Who I am. Well,
the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. So, you read my bio. It's kind kind of holds it all in there, but I am a wife, I am a mother, I'm an intercessor, I am a writer. Don't write as much as I would like to, but um, I just say I'm just me.
Yeah.
Um, I am just a girl who likes her family and likes to eat, and everything else comes.
Life is
Of course, I love God,
right. Right.
but I try to have a simple life. I try
Mhm.
not to make things too complex, and I'm kind of a go with the flow. And we talked about planning. I'm kind of a go with the flow when it comes to how God wants to move me.
Mhm.
And so I always say, like, when people have planning boards, vision boards,
Vision
stuff like
boards.
that, that's
Mhm.
not me.
Mhm.
Perhaps that's because of the way my life has gone,
Mhm.
but God always just takes my plans and like tears
Mhm.
them up. So I'm very
Mhm.
much so just kind of let God take the lead, and I'll
Mhm.
go where He tells me to go, and I'll do
Yeah.
what He tells me to do. But yeah,
Has it always been that way for you? Like, have you always been that person that just kind of a planner slightly, but goes with the flow in terms of your plans?
I think up until I'll say grad school, I was
Mhm.
very much so a planner. I knew what I wanted, I knew
Mhm.
how to do it, I planned it out, I got through. But then I think that's when life
Mhm.
started happening. You
Mhm.
get married, and then that's a whole thing.
Right.
And then career changes, and then kids, and just stuff that happened in life, I think have just kind of shifted me. Some of it might be a coping skill, some of it,
Mhm.
might be negative, and that,
Mhm.
okay, well, I'm not gonna plan because it might get ruined. But I
Mhm.
think for the most part, it works for me.
Mhm.
Um, and so, yeah, I'm just out here waiting for the next thing.
Yeah. I think that so what I like what well, I'm not gonna say what I like about that, but it turns out to be good. What I like about that is you said that when you hit grad school and things started shifting a little bit. And what I kind of attribute that to is we start coming into the knowledge and the understanding that life is going to
Yeah,
happen the way it's supposed to happen.
yeah.
And so we don't get so overly invested in what we want to see. And how proud I am of you to learn that so early. Because I did not learn
It
that in
was
my 30s.
well.
I think I learned that in my 40s. That I learned because, oh my gosh, I am the type of person who I don't know if I necessarily plan things out, but I plan my life out.
Mhm.
And I planned my life out, and up until probably late 40s, I was like, this is not gonna go the way that I have spent all this time planning.
Yeah,
It's not happening.
yeah,
So I became open to what God was
yeah.
doing. Yeah.
It usually just takes a life shift or a life event to really move you. I don't
Mhm.
think anyone really willingly moves into that space. It's
Mm-mm.
just you're kind of forced into that for better or worse. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. All right. So we know that your story has to do with, so we're going to talk, you all, about physical health or wellness. We're going to talk about some emotional wellness. So, kind of how the physical side of whatever was experienced kind of transcended into some emotional, wellness challenges. If there were some mental health challenges, but then we're going to tie it all together with how it kind of snowballed into an amazing
mhm,
spiritual form of spiritual wellness for us. So to start there, I want to really spend some time talking about from a holistic health standpoint.
mhm,
So we can start with like your physical health
mhm.
journey and just kind of walk us through your story
Sure,
as far as that goes.
sure. So I'll start kind of where my chronic illness began, but just kind of as a preface. I experienced some health issues when I was in high school. They kind of came and went. They couldn't quite figure it out. They thought maybe it was like a disconnect where I got injured, and then my brain was telling me that I was still injured, and so I was having pain. But it was like a little bout when I was in high school. But in 2013, I began to just have lots of pain, lots of fatigue, just feeling awful. And so, of course, went through the process. Anyone who's had any of those experiences knows you go from doctor to doctor, kind of being passed around. They draw what feels like all of the blood in your body out, and you're going through all of this testing. Um, for me, my journey in figuring it out wasn't too long because they did know that my autoimmune markers were increased, so they knew something was going on. Um, and so I'm blessed to not have the story that it was years before they found out. But they diagnosed within the first year or 2 years, they did diagnose me with fibromyalgia and then autoimmune arthritis. Basically, I have all the symptoms of RA. That marker isn't increased. So they can't technically call it rheumatoid arthritis. So from there, my story is really up and down. Of course, we were newly married, so that was like our first big challenge. Like, marriage is already hard, and now you're going to throw this into it. So there was a lot of healing that had to take place there. And I feel like when people get married, there's this chunk of time that you are getting to know one another, right? And you're working it all out and you're trying to learn. I feel like we were forced to deal with that quicker because of what happened. Like this, we can't be doing that and trying to get through this. So we really had to press to make it through. And it was very hard. It literally is only by the grace of God that we made it through that first 5 years just because
Because you
of
went
what I
from
was going through.
from getting married
Yeah.
to in sickness and in health.
That part real
immediately.
quick. Really
Right.
quick. And so, there's ups and downs. I know you talk a lot about hormonal health. When I was pregnant, I was in remission. It was great. After I had him and I was breastfeeding, my hormones stayed at a level where I was good. I felt great. But as soon as I stopped, I don't know if I've ever been in worse shape. And I was trying to, parent, mother, a toddler, and I was feeling my worst, and I couldn't walk. I couldn't function as a mom, as a wife, as just a person. And it was kind of during that time, 2017, and not to go out of holistic health, but that year was probably the worst year of my life and my husband's life. That year, I was very sick. My mother-in-law passed away suddenly. And within a month of her passing, my husband found a mass on his pancreas. And so in less than a month's time, my husband was having surgery to remove this. It's one of the most complicated surgeries ever. And I was also sick, trying to manage my own health, take care of a child. I was basically a single mother at that time. And that was when everything kind of came to a convergence, my physical health, my spiritual health, my mental health. Because I was at the end of it all. I could no longer kind of go on. And there was a point where my husband was in the hospital for like the third time it was like an infection or something like that. And I was pretty much thinking he wasn't going to come home at that point. And I was in so much pain. I remember just like crying in my bed, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, God, what are you doing? And I realized I hadn't really been talking to God at all because I just wasn't in a place to do that. And I just remember God coming into me in the bed and just like I could physically feel him with me. And he just said, Amanda, if nothing changes, will you still love me? And I felt like in that moment, I had to make a decision. I was either going to go with God and trust that he's got me, or I'm going to continue to be miserable because I can't control anything that's going on around me. And so from that point, I just gave my entire life over to God. And I had to say, if you take my husband, I trust you. If I don't get better, I trust you. And that was kind of when everything shifted for me.
Mhm.
So that summer is when I began writing. I had never written before, but I started writing. I wrote the devotional. I, just began to do that, and that turned into a ministry where God was like, "Okay, you have this thing. What are you going to do with it? You can kind of go through it alone, or you can help others because you know there are others going through this, and you see what's happening in churches. You see what happens with the support system. Why don't you get all the people who are feeling like this and just let them know that there's someone else going through these experiences, going through the pain, going through the isolation." And so my ministry started in 2018. I launched my website, I launched a blog, and from there it has kind of um, built. But to get back to holistic health, it's weird to say this, but without my illness, I do not think that I would be well spiritually or mentally or emotionally. Even from the perspective of physically, I feel great, even though, I still have symptoms. I just think that it forced me to look at myself as a whole and get in that position where I could be ministered to and I could be healed. Even if it wasn't physically, everything else has been healed. And so I feel like I just talked a lot and maybe didn't answer your question fully,
Yeah.
but here I am today. And of course, there's always work to do, right? Of course, we always have pieces that may be a little bit broken, and God still is doing the work. But I sit here today, grateful for where God has brought me in a health perspective,
Mhm.
even though I still have this thorn, we may
Mhm.
call.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but yeah,
Which leads us back to the scripture
yeah,
that your entire ministerial platform is
yeah,
based off of,
yep,
right? Because yeah, you may have that thorn in your side and he might not ever
right,
remove it,
right,
right? But I love what you so there's a couple of things that I took away from what you said. The first thing that I took away is how the mature person in you grew to see that it was because of your affliction that God was able to use you.
yeah,
And what a lot of women in particular, people obviously, but we're talking specifically to
yeah,
women, what we have a hard time understanding, and I get it when you're in the thick of things, you don't really see what's going on.
yeah,
Especially if your relationship with God is not where you want it to
right,
be or where it needs to be. When you're in the thick of everything, you don't necessarily see the end of the thing,
right,
right? You don't see what God is doing with you. But what a lot of women, I think, have a difficult time resolving themselves to is that what I'm going through right now, it's almost like it's an intentional affliction
yeah,
because purpose is born out of that,
yeah,
right? So everything about what you went through, everything about what you went through with your husband, everything about what, all of the stuff that you and your husband experienced in the very first 5 years of your
yeah,
marriage, God bless you. God knew that all of that had to be used so that Amanda could be birthed,
right,
right? Not Amanda the person, but Amanda the
yeah,
ministry, right? So I like that. The other thing that I liked that you said was that you said it was kind of weird. You said it's weird for me to say this, but you didn't quite say it like this, but I'm just gonna
mhm,
say, like, you were more or less grateful
yeah,
for what you went through.
yeah.
And it took me a long time to get there with my own
It's a
personal.
journey.
It is. It is. That's why I say I'm so inspired and grateful that you were able to discover that at the age that you're discovering it
Mhm,
and you're being able to use it in this time in your life now. Um I having gone through what I went through, it took me a very long time, literally 50 now, probably 48,
mhm,
It's only been the last couple of years that I've had like incredible revelatory experiences with God and words and everything from him about the things that I've gone through. But one of the things that the Lord showed me was that, Makiba, every single thing that you went through, I'm using it for this moment right now. Everything. And so that's the message that I try to get across to other women, is that I know that you don't see it being of benefit right now, but you have to trust that when he says that he is going to cause everything to work together, there is a reason why you're going through what you're going through right now, even though you can't see it because it hurts. It's painful and all of that. So I really love that you said that. Thank you so much for speaking into that. So emotionally, what did you go through emotionally? That's
man.
tough.
Yeah, well, made worse by the fact that I had suffered from depression for years before that.
Mhm.
So what actually happened was, in my 20s, it got so bad where I was on medication.
Mhm.
And there was one point where I was just like, I can't, I can't do this anymore. And I think it was another very low point where I just had to surrender it. And God kind of brought me out of that. Um, and that actually happened. I remember when it happened because my husband and we were freshly married. It was within that first year, and I laugh now, and I hope my husband doesn't get mad at me saying this, but our therapist quit us. She was like, "I don't think I can help you guys anymore." No joke. And we were sitting in that room, and it was rock bottom. But in that moment, I looked at my husband, saw how much he was hurting. I realized how much my depression and my poor emotional health was affecting him. It wasn't just about me anymore. And so from that point, I was making a conscious effort to think about what I was thinking about. And so that kind of started, I was in the healing process when I got sick. Um, and there were a lot of ups and downs. There were a lot of, um, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And so I would lose hope, and I would fall into a partial depression. I feel like God didn't let me go all the way. Otherwise, I would have stayed there.
Yeah.
But as I have learned how to cope physically, I have also learned how to cope mentally. And so now, if I don't feel well, I'm extra cognizant of what my thoughts are, of what my mood is. I know if I'm going in that space, especially as it relates to my body, that something has to be done. And I think it was really just a matter of time. Sometimes we just have to learn ourselves. We have to learn our thought patterns. But a lot of that, and we haven't gotten into that, is that spiritual part. Spiritual wellness connects to how we think, how we interpret different situations. And so all of that together has kind of preserved me. I think that's the best, because there's always going to be something that can take you down into that depressive state. And so I've learned just to not let myself go there.
We play a role in that.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I get from that and I think this is a really good message to send, is we play a role.
Yeah.
Like, we can't emotional unwellness, if you will, is a real thing. Mental unwellness is a real thing.
Yeah.
We know that. We're definitely not debating that. And while you are getting help for that, you can't put all of your eggs in the basket of
Right.
other people helping you.
Right.
There's a certain level of responsibility. And you said it, like, you had to become intentionally and consciously aware of what you were thinking,
Yeah.
how your thoughts, because at the end of the day, we kind of do have control over what we think about. And are we going to allow what we're experiencing, whether it's a physical unwellness or whether it's an emotional unwellness, we actually have the ability to say, not today.
Yeah.
I'm not going to allow myself. And it may take every ounce of energy that you have to pull yourself out of that hole. But we have to be able to do that. And I think about what your therapist said to you. And I wasn't there. I don't know for sure, but I feel like it was almost because she was, or he, she or he, they were feeling like this person doesn't seem to be helping themselves, right?
Yeah.
So there's only so much
Yeah.
that I can do.
Yep.
And I think that as individuals, as a society, so mental health, mental unwellness has always been taboo, right? We've
Right.
always looked at it as, I was just talking to my last guest about this last time, and we were talking about how it's back when we were younger, people would say, "Oh, that person is mental," right?
They're
And so
crazy.
they're crazy. And so people don't want to be affiliated
Right.
with that. And so it was taboo for us to embrace the idea that there may be some kind of imbalance going on
Right.
mentally or even emotionally, because there's this connotation that you're crazy and you can't be helped. However, now as we are, times are changing. And one of the things I said is, I don't know a whole lot that this generation can offer, but what they can offer
Yep.
is they're teaching their children now
Right.
that therapy is good,
Right.
right? And looking for ways to help yourself is a good thing, as
Yes.
opposed to when I was younger, that wasn't a conversation that we had, right?
Get over it.
Right. Get over it.
I'll
We-
give you something to cry about.
Right. We're gonna pray about this thing and you're
Right,
gonna
right,
snap
right,
out of it.
right.
Right. And so I think now, so because of all of that, mental health and talking about mental health was so taboo. And so we have, because we're now embracing mental health, not mental health, but we're embracing therapy for
Yeah.
mental health.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like we're putting all of the responsibility on the therapist.
Yeah, I think you're right in some aspects. To me, part of the role you play for me, especially I am in therapy now, it's continuation from postpartum, is your relationship with that therapist and the therapist's ability to give you tools to use.
Mhm.
Because where I am now also happened in a therapy sessions with my current therapist, who said, Amanda, when you have an intrusive thought, you need to name that thing. You need to figure out how to move past it. What does it take for you to move past that? And so I think we can also put the onus on therapists.
Yeah.
How much are you equipping
Mm.
your clients
Mhm.
to go out into their lives
Mhm.
and do these things? Or even doctors. Yes,
Very good.
they have,
Yeah.
I can put you on medication, but I'm going to follow up with you to make sure you have a therapist. I'm going to follow up with you in 6 months, 3 months, whatever it is, so that, because it's easy to form an attachment
Yeah.
when you're in that space. And so I think if we can like get this balance,
Mhm.
um, maybe then we'll see kind of a plateau of like, oh, my therapist will just help me through it. No,
Yeah.
your therapist should be giving you tools.
Right.
And now there's different, modalities and things like that people use. Sometimes it's long term, but really it should be looking towards when we can move apart a little
Mhm.
bit and go on
Mhm.
your own, because that
Right.
should be the goal, right?
Right. Right.
So
Not therapy forever.
right.
Not therapy forever, but I like what you said. That's very true. I agree with that. And I think when I was talking to the therapist before, um, what did she say? She said, people are getting to the point where they are feeling like they can trust. So I think it goes to a thing of trust, right, for therapists. Like, I'm trusting my therapist and you're my therapist, you trust me. So I'm giving you tools to do, hopefully, like you said, hopefully
Right.
they're giving us tools.
Right.
I'm giving you tools to use to help yourself get out of this. I trust you to use these tools. And at me talking to my therapist, okay, I trust the tools that you're giving me
Mhm.
and I'm going to try them.
Right.
right? So I like that. So you all, that was a tip. That was a tip. That was a tip. I love it. So mental health and ministry.
Ooh.
Let's talk about that.
I'm so glad that we're finally getting to this point,
Yeah.
where it actually is a conversation,
Mhm.
and I hope most churches are moving towards incorporating it. I just don't see, if you know anything about God, if you know anything about how we were created and how much He loves us, why our mental health wouldn't be one of the biggest components of ministry and of our relationship with God.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I take Jeremiah is one of my favorite prophets books because you have this very human person who had a lot of emotion and
Mhm.
expressed that emotion. And when God said, I knitted you and formed you, he had to have known the emotional burden that he was going to have to take. And he had to have known how Jeremiah was going to react
Mhm.
and still trust that in him and still know that he would carry him through. So to me, that's a perfect example of God looking at us as a whole. He didn't just see Jeremiah and say, "You're a prophet, deal
Mhm.
with the rest." No, he knew the whole of Jeremiah and
Mhm.
what he would have to endure,
Mhm.
and he cared about the whole of him. When Jeremiah had all these worries and concerns, God answered him compassionately.
Mhm.
He didn't tell him to, stop your crying.
Right.
He said, "Trust me."
Right.
And so I just if our emotions were so terrible and all of these things weren't meant to be a part of us, why did God put them in us?
Mm.
And if
Mm.
they are in us, surely He has called us to be good stewards over
Mhm.
them. Just
Mhm.
like we talk about our body being a temple, that's not just our physical body,
Right.
right? That's our minds, which
Yes.
are a part of our physical body, and what's contained in our minds is obviously important to God.
Mhm. I think I'm so glad you said that because that kind of confirmed like this there's this premise I stand on, and I've said it a few times, is that our mental our mental health, emotional health, physical health, financial health, spiritual health, whatever. It is not individual components and
Right.
elements that function separately from one another, right?
Exactly.
They all work in tandem
All of them.
to make the person that God has assigned to do something in his universe,
Right.
in his kingdom.
Right.
So I agree with you. You cannot expect a person to function in ministry, or you can't expect a person to function in any space from a spiritual standpoint and not be equally concerned with every aspect of who they are.
Correct.
You cannot only be concerned with how they show up to do what they do.
Right.
And I think that that is just a conversation, like you said, that has to be
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
We have to understand, and I love the example that you gave with Jeremiah, which I'm sure there are several more examples in the Bible that talk about these various parts of people and how they are affected with how people are actually able to do what God has assigned for them to do, and how God Himself deals with that. But I like the example that you gave because it is actually like a a literal example of how we can see ourselves in relation to God and how God responds
Yeah.
to like, I knew you. I
Right.
know you anyway.
Right.
I knew you were going to have these challenges.
Mm.
In fact, I established for you to have these challenges because I realized that you going back to your original
Mhm.
story, I knew that these challenges were going to be an intricate part
Yeah.
in how you fulfill whatever it was you were assigned to fulfill, which is why this platform, I just really want the people who are connected to this platform to understand health is so important when you are thinking like we just can't be one dimensional thinking about, okay, I'm serving God,
Right.
but you serving God and there are broken pieces in you got to
Yeah.
focus on those broken
Right.
pieces,
Right. And
right?
we have to be proactive, I think. I think the church is doing a great job with
Mhm.
addressing it, but
Mhm.
I almost feel like we address it from a deficit standpoint. Our
Mhm.
members are suffering. We're seeing a decrease in servants because people are getting burnt out. Well, what if we dealt with emotional health from a proactive perspective?
Mhm.
What if we're
Instead of a
talking about
reactive.
exactly? What
Right.
if we're talking about the emotional health, the mental health, so that people are equipped when those because broken pieces don't always show up, and
Mhm.
at the same time, right, equip them so that when they do come up,
Mhm.
let's deal with that. So yeah, super important. I really hope we continue with this trend of
Yeah.
addressing it.
Yeah. I do too. I mean, I think I do too. I think that it's ooh, child. I can talk about just because so my background, I grew up in a very conservative.
Okay.
My as a child, my pastor, who is like my spiritual father right now, I call him dad.
Mhm.
Very, very conservative, very conservative. So conservative that we would sing hymnals. Like we didn't
Mhm.
sing songs, we
Mhm.
sung hymnals. We
Yep.
sung every verse from the hymn, and like to this day, like I attribute my ability to think of when I hear a song, I'm going into the second
Yeah.
verse because I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, y'all didn't know that
Yeah.
verse. So I
Yeah.
knew that verse because we had to sing all four verses.
Sometimes 5, and they had the
Right.
little words at the bottom.
Girl.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
that's the ministry. But then at the same time, there was also this very strong teaching
Mhm.
that I came out of. So as I got older and I started, after I separated from the military and I went to another church and it was kind of a new experience for me. So I had to kind of figure out the way to, engage in that.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Tallahassee, where that was an entirely different experience. I had one of my friends ask, she's like, "You never heard this song before?" And I'm like, "They're real country gospel, baby, country gospel." Like and I'm like, "I've never heard that song before," and they couldn't believe that a Black girl who
Mhm.
lived in Florida had never heard. And I'm like, I didn't even grow up in this type of
Yeah.
environment. And then coming to, here and just hearing all of the different ways that people were raised in the church and different theologies, if you will,
Yep.
and how it applied to them. I just think that in and of itself lends to the confusion of how we are supposed to address things that affect people
Yes.
because everything is based on perspective and
Yep.
everything is subjective,
Yep.
right? And so I can have this conversation forever and talking about,
Right.
okay, well, how do you feel about, different theologies and
Yep.
different denominations and how people are feeling about this and how it comes together with the person that's serving in that ministry? Are they really understanding what they're supposed to be doing and are they supposed to do it this way all the time? So it's a lot.
It is. It is.
It's a
Yeah.
lot.
That's a whole different like you said, I could also talk about it for hours. It comes down to, like, your like, not family of origin, your church
Your
family
church
of
family of
origin. Because I
origin.
grew up Lutheran in a
Oh.
all-white Lutheran church,
Oh,
so
yeah.
same type,
Yeah.
conservative,
Yeah.
hymnal,
Yep.
all of that. So it was a learning process for me too,
Mhm.
navigating the way other people practice their
Mhm.
faith. And
Mhm.
I think if we can realize that there's good parts from each of them, and if
Mhm.
we take,
Mhm.
different things, we
Mhm.
can meld them all together. We can
Mhm.
be the one church, right? And
Right.
I believe we have more similarities than differences, but I think we're so busy accusing people of those
Yeah.
differences being not theologically sound or whatever it
Right.
may be,
Not correct. Correct.
Right.
Yeah. And so I think so to tie that back to the original question, I just think that mental health in ministry can't be taboo.
Right.
Mental health in the world can be taboo. It can be as taboo as people want it to be.
Mhm.
But mental health in ministry, especially when we think about how God has called many of us in ministries to spread the gospel and to do what he's asked us to do so that we can expand heaven and point
Mhm.
these people to God. If God has assigned all of these different ministries of people and these different desires and ideas, mental health and ministry can't be taboo. We have to talk about this because consisting of all these different people
Yeah.
who have had different
Yep.
experiences, who are bringing into their ministerial platforms and work all these different experiences that
Exactly.
they may or may not have been healed from
Right.
or at least started the process of healing and able to function in healing. And so I don't know why it's a taboo subject and a topic. I really don't know. I was talking to another guest that I had who is an actual licensed counselor, and we talked about this whole mental health, emotional health. If the church, and I put this
Mhm.
in
Mhm. Mhm.
quotes, the church is contributing
Right.
to the mental health imbalances, you know? I mean, it's conversation.
It's a
It's a
whole
conversation.
conversation.
We can't just be focused on one-dimensional teaching when we know at the end of the day we're trying to get everybody to heaven.
Yeah.
But there are some pieces along the way that we have to give
Yeah.
attention to.
Yeah. And I think that also, and I know this is a whole different topic, but I think also you have to take a look at history and what happened through history in the church too, to
Mhm.
figure out where was it um, where we were told that our emotions were counterproductive,
Mm.
you know, and it could have been society's influence on the church. It could have
Mhm.
been the church's influence on society somewhere along the line.
Mhm.
Um, Preachers, pastors, whoever interpreted the Bible to mean that, and I still hear this, and it's okay that your feelings are not God. And I understand what they're saying.
Mhm.
Sometimes our feelings take us out of a place where we're
Mhm.
able to really, focus on God and we may act out of those behaviors. I get what they're saying, but Jesus was full of emotion.
Mhm.
And yes, he reacted righteously.
Right.
He was without no sin, but he had anger, he had sadness. So I don't understand where this thing came about that if you have emotions, if you're emotional, if you're all of these things, it's not of God.
Mhm.
But I don't know where it
I
came
think that
from.
goes to okay, hearing that and then owning the fact that maybe we need to teach people how to leverage their emotion or how to course correct
Yep.
their emotions because emotions are we know I'm with you, emotions are like we have emotions
Yeah.
for a reason. It's a
Yeah.
part of the construct of who we
Right.
are, so obviously it's something that we're supposed to have,
Right.
but in ministry, not eliminating those emotions but teaching people how to use their
Right.
emotions from a healthy
Yeah.
space and from if they want to tie the word spiritual to it from a spiritual
Yeah.
place, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully, yeah, we got to do another conversation
Yeah.
about that because we can talk about that
That's a
all
whole like
day. That
5
is,
episodes.
that is, it is, and it's necessary. It's
Yeah.
necessary. So Amanda, takeaways from your health journey. So let's talk about the spiritual piece now. We talked about
Yeah.
spirituality a lot, but spiritual. So let's kind of transition from physical health, emotional health. We know you're dealing with it,
Mhm.
still dealing with it.
Mhm.
How has this grown you spiritually? Because one of the things that I love, love, love about you is your spiritual effectiveness and
Mhm.
kind of how I see
Mm.
you are able to like you're a phenomenal intercessor. Um you know the word. And as you, what I didn't know about your story was what you made clear earlier and how you made a conscious decision to ask God.
Mhm.
You made a conscious decision to ask God. And that's the first thing. I think all of us who have moved into that space of where we are now spiritually, we had to ask God.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about your health take your takeaways from your health journey and then how that health journey and all of the journey that went along with that grew you up spiritually.
Mhm. I when you were talking about that, it reminded me that up until that point, I was running away from God,
Mm.
right? Like I knew that he was wanting to do and he had been speaking to me, but I was like, this isn't,
Right.
this isn't gonna happen.
Yeah.
Whatever you have planned, I'm good. Um, and so when that happened, I just knew that I had to stop ignoring him. And I think that was that was what really was like, "Okay, I'm actually going to listen. I'm actually going to pray," not when I feel like it. Um, and I think in terms of my journey, and this affected me especially spiritually, was that I had to learn that my journey was my own. Um, when you talk, especially about, chronic illnesses, autoimmune illnesses, everyone has an opinion.
Mhm.
Everyone has a, well, have you tried this? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? And while I understand everyone comes from a place of wanting to help,
Mhm.
our bodies are very individualized, right? There's foods that work for some people, foods that don't work for other
Yep.
people. You could do keto and it'll heal you. You could do vegan and it'll heal you. For other people, that's not going to happen.
Mhm.
And that translates to your spiritual journey as well.
Mhm.
So I had to learn that, and this was very hard for me. And this is kind of where my ministry is based, that my healing wasn't going to come from a deliverance session. My healing was not going to come from laying hands on me, because God had told me individually to me that my illness had a purpose. And
Mhm.
until that purpose was complete, this is what I will have. Right. And so because if you go to church, people are always want to lay hands and heal. I always wanted to pray and heal. If you go in the world, everyone has a idea of how you should deal with it. So I had to stay with God,
Mhm.
because I would be misunderstood in the church,
Mhm.
saying, no, I understand why I have this. I don't need prayer for healing, although I appreciate it.
Mhm.
And I had to say, you know what? I will focus on reducing my symptoms and looking at how I can live my best life
Mhm.
and not listen to the noise around me. And that took being with God,
Mhm.
because a lot of people wouldn't understand having, a flare. Many people wouldn't understand even what it is. I had so much angst releasing my ministry.
Mhm.
Like, God, no one is going to understand why this isn't a healing ministry.
Mhm.
No one's going to understand why I'm not writing a book to get healed. And so God had to like take my hand and be like, no, Amanda, like there are people who feel like you just need to find them,
Mhm.
right? There are people who are enduring and they have these same feelings. They have shame going into church. They have frustrations with how people treat them. And so because I felt so alone, I had to be with God,
Mhm.
and I had to trust what he was doing in my life. I had to trust him with my body. I had to trust him to give me the discernment to and what to put into my body.
Mhm.
Because I remember just, searching everything like elimination diet, gotta try this, like tracking, gotta try this, herbs, supplements, and it being so overwhelming to me.
Mhm.
And then when things wouldn't work, I would get so disappointed.
Mhm.
It took going
Mhm.
to God and him being like, remember what I told you?
Mhm.
Like, you're looking for ways for you to control this and do that. With all that being said, that's why in my ministry, I'm there to be a presence. I'm there to say you're seen. I'm there to say, you know, let God do what he needs to do. I'm there to say, get your peace and get your joy while you're in it. Because I think a lot of people bank being happy and being fulfilled on healing.
Mhm.
And the thing about that is, if you are basing it on your physical condition, what happens when the next one hits?
Mhm.
Then it won't be peace and joy that can be sustained. It won't be true peace and joy, right? If you can find that when you're in the middle of your worst, um, then it will be sustained when others come. If you get your healing or if you don't,
Mhm.
you know, you're good. And that's where God brought me to, like this just place of deep trust. I'm human.
Yeah.
Do I still have days when I'm like, "Are you serious,
Mhm.
God? Like, are we done with this?
Right.
Like,
I'm
I'm
not. I'm not.
done."
I'm not finished
Right,
yet.
right.
Right.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I wrote the book.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, if you wanna pray for me, I'll pray for healing. I really will,
Mhm.
I never know. But I'm good.
Yeah.
If it doesn't happen, I'm good. And
Mhm.
I'm grateful that's where God has me.
Yeah.
So, and whoever I can help, I love seeing people get healed. Look, I have so many testimonies where people be like, I'm healed from lupus, whatever. I love it. That
Mhm.
is their journey.
Mhm.
And everyone's is different. So,
I So now I see where the kindred spirits are coming from. Cause like
It's there.
everything that you just said to me, like, oh my God, like it spoke to me, right? Because I mean, you're literally sitting across from me and like teaching me um the way to look at certain things, even as I'm going through them now. Um, but you know, a lot of people, many people don't know. Some people do. I'm transparent as all get out
Mhm.
on my platforms and stuff like that. But, um, I had stage 4 endometriosis
Mhm.
growing up, and then that kind of snowballed into infertility, right? And that snowballed into 7 surgeries,
Yeah.
and then that snowballed into hysterectomy, and then that snowballed into a finish with the oophorectomy because then
Mhm.
they had to take the ovaries. And then I was like, okay, I'm doing good. I'm good. And then I moved to Chicago. Lord
Then a
Jesus.
whole 'nother
Didn't
set
even know
of
what was meeting me when I crossed over. And I was like, okay, I didn't know what God was doing. I knew that He brought me here. I just didn't know that it was gonna come with
Yeah.
so much. And I would say for the last 5 years, it's been such an emotional health roller coaster.
Mhm.
And, just I can't even tell you the number of hormonal
Mhm.
vacillation. I mean, just it's been horrible. And I remember you
Mhm.
saying earlier when you were talking how you just couldn't put your finger on it, you just didn't feel good.
Mhm.
I remember talking to my functional medicine provider, and she told me, she said, it's not that your blood work is showing that you're like fatally sick. She said, "You just don't feel
Yeah.
well." I said, "I don't feel well." Like, and I told my mother, I said, "Mom, something is going on the inside." And I did not know what it was. And this was probably like 2, 3 years ago. And I said, "Mom, I don't know what it is, but something is going on." Had no idea that all of this was a part of God's plan. I had no idea that He was even going to allow that to move me into this whole ministry work that He's
Mhm.
allowing me to birth that I did not want. Cause girl, I told anybody who would listen, I don't want a ministry.
Right.
Like I just want to just do good
Right,
stuff, do
exactly.
good work. I don't want the ministry title to be attached to it. Cause
Yep.
to me, that was like overly spiritual. Like I'm
Mhm.
not trying to be no minister.
I
I'm not
know.
trying to do all that.
I get it.
And God was like, well, what you want to call it? Because you're doing work for me. I mean, at the end of the day, Makiba, that's what it's
That's what it
called. That's
is.
what it is.
Yeah.
But just navigating through this whole thing with my body and then being over on this like now 2-year journey of becoming more healthy and but I've walked that road of shame where and I say shame because it's like you want to listen to people trying to do well by
Mhm.
telling you this is what's going on with you.
Mhm.
This is how you can help yourself.
Yeah.
I have done watermelon diets.
Listen.
I have done eating healthy. I've spent thousands of dollars on this going on and this. And
Supplements,
my
yeah.
body was like, no, no, that's not. And listening to you talk a few minutes ago, I was like, now the pieces are coming together. Like I totally understand now what she's saying and how it applies to me. Like God told me, girl, in 2018, He told me when I moved to Chicago and He told me what my purpose was. He told me who I was assigned to. He told me, Amanda. And I said, but I don't know how to do that.
Mhm.
And He said, don't worry about how to do it. He said, the how is going to be your interpretation once you get more knowledge of me. I didn't know that the next 5 years, me getting more knowledge of Him was going to be
Right,
processing
right.
like to the 10,000th degree. And so, but I'm saying all of that to say that we serve a God who will do stuff
Yeah,
like that
yeah,
to get our attention so that we can do what He's called us to do.
yeah,
And I think that's what I'm trying to get women to understand. My entire ministerial platform is purpose.
yeah,
I'm talking about, I want women to get purposely, I want them to fulfill what God has put them
yeah,
on the earth to do, but I also need them to know that that comes with
yeah.
a lot of stuff that you may have already experienced or that you don't know you're gonna experience
Yep,
yet.
that part. I think too, when you're in it, and you've said this, when you're in it, you don't see it. When you're in it, you don't wanna hear it either,
Mhm.
because 'cause you'll get mad at God.
Yeah,
Like, "Are you really a loving God? You're making me go through
right.
this." And so I just tell people, it sucks to be where you are,
Mhm.
because sometimes you just need that validation. It sucks where you are. This is terrible. Feel what you feel in it. In the back of your mind, in the back of your spirit, right? All things work together. But you maybe can't hear it right now. Right? One day you'll understand. But for right now, it really sucks to be where you are. And I've been there.
And that's okay to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Right? I think sometimes
yeah.
people think that if they acknowledge that, then they're not exercising faith in God, or
Right.
they're
Girl.
not being a good Christian. If I say
Bye.
that this sucks, you know what I'm
I'll
saying?
be like, God, this sucks.
Yeah.
I lay
Yeah.
in bed and I'll be like, God, listen to me. This is terrible. This is awful. Why are you doing this? And I'll just fall asleep.
And
I'll talk to you later.
And that's your relief for right now.
Right,
Just
right,
fall asleep.
Right.
Just fall asleep. I love it. I love it. I think that your journey, it all makes sense now. And I'm so grateful for, obviously, I've read your first, and it talks a lot about kind of what you've been through, and even the lamenting piece of it. And I do, you all, I'm getting close to the mic right now. I'm getting close to the mic. Her ebook, Lament, what's the official name of it? The Gift of Lament is phenomenal. Please, you guys, I'm going to have her give, and I'm going to put in the notes her website, and I'm put in the notes how you can get to it so you can download it. But please, 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 because in all of what we're talking about with this health journey, there's going to be some lamenting.
Ooh, Lord. Yes, there will.
There's going to be
just in life in general.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's okay. Like, it's a part, what I learned through Amanda is that it actually is okay. That's a process of emotion.
Yeah.
That's a process of emotion that we have to give way to, just like traversing through, allowing ourselves to journey through the process of emotion, and then being open and honest with God. Sometimes we not open and honest with God because I don't know if it's like shame or someone has told us you gotta man up.
Yeah.
But like, God already knows what's going on with you.
Already knows.
So, all right, last question. Imagine you're sitting next to your 21-year-old self. What would you tell her?
Girl, get yourself together. What are you doing? No.
For real. Straight up.
Like, you are a mess.
You don't even know what you got going on, how it's going to be in 15 years. Stop acting silly.
Just a mess. I would say grab a hold, embrace your uniqueness. Like, your uniqueness seems like a detriment right now. It seems like you're constantly on the outside, but that is what will actually make you who you are, in that you're going to do things through your uniqueness that no one else is doing. And that thing will be almost your superpower. And also, just stop doing all that.
Kindred spirit moment. Snap, snap. Kindred spirit moment. Girl, I lived my entire life being on the outside.
Yeah.
I did.
It's rough.
It's still there.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Oh, yeah. That
It's
thing
hard.
comes up.
It's hard. It's very hard when you don't, being an only child. Are you an only child?
I'm not.
Not an only child. Being an only child and being unique like that. It's like, dang, God, what are you trying to do? You know, that's tough, but I love what you just said. I love what you just said. There's a reason why God makes us the way that we are. There's a reason why, and we may not ever know the full totality of it until we get to heaven. But there is a reason why God made us the way that we are.
Yep.
And I love the way that you've come into that knowledge of understanding for you, that you can also share with other people.
Yeah.
And so you have done the thing that God has asked you to do, and you're doing it with stride.
Praise God. Well, sometimes.
Those times when she mad in the bed about to go to sleep and want to know what you're doing, man. Shoot.
Right.
You never let us see you sweat, though. never let us see you sweat. But I know it's all good.
That's
We're
only
human.
by the grace of God. Look, it's never me, it's always him. So
It's always good. Well, I'm grateful that you were here. Thank you.
thank you for having me. This is amazing.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure I'll have you back to talk about some other stuff.
I'll be here.
Because girl, we can just
Yeah,
talk
we can just
about
talk.
yeah, we could talk about
Delvin's
some
gonna
stuff.
be over there like, are they done yet?
Okay, stop. But yeah, that's what happened when you get women together because we love to talk. And I
Right.
love to talk.
Right.
Like Lord, that's my gift. I already know that's my gift. God has given me the gift of gab, and I can talk all day. My husband will agree. Anyway, all right, y'all. So thank you, Amanda, for being here. We're gonna get your website. I'm gonna get all your information so that we can put it in the show notes.
Great.
Everybody will have access to that. I'm telling you all, she has 2 books, The Gift of Lament and Songs of Perseverance. I need for you to make sure that you connect with her on that. Also, if you are a woman who struggles with chronic illness or any type of issue that you can relate to, is what she's talked about today, we're going to have a way for them to connect with you as well. She's a gem, and you've heard her story, and she can definitely help you in whatever way you need. So we want to make sure that we connect people to Amanda Hughley and AH Ministries. Now, having said that, we're done. I need for you to do 2 things for me. Number 1, share this out, because I know now that you listen to this, there's 1 or 2 or 3 people that you know who can use what we talked about today. So please share this episode out. I'm counting on you. Don't let me down. Share this out. If you're listening on Apple streaming platform, I need you to give me a 5-star rating, you all. 5-star, not 3, not 4, but 5-star rating, because I know you liked it. I already know that you like it. That's why you show up every week to listen to me, or every other week, because you like what I put out there. So go ahead and give me a 5-star rating. And just tune in. We'll be back again in a couple of weeks with a new episode. Episode 10 is forthcoming. So make sure that you tune in there. But for now, I want you to know that I love you and there is nothing that you can do about it. Thank you so much for being with me, and we'll see you the next time. Peace.